Who is God anyway? Hollywood tells us he's an old man in flowing robes. Atheists tell us he's a figment of our imagination. History tells us he's worth dying for. But what does the Bible tell us? Join me as we search God's Word to get to know our Creator in this series, Who is God Anyway? Welcome back to Coloring Through the Bible. My name is Kiki-Ann Harkins, and the last 2 Fridays we've been discussing the characteristics of God in our series, Who is God Anyway? And the whole purpose of this series is to get to know God by getting to know His character, His mannerisms, His likes, His dislikes. And so far we've focused on creation and what that reveals about God's character. We looked at some statements in the Bible where God directly tells us about Himself. And this week is such a big topic that we're actually going to break it up into 2 weeks. There'll be 2 lessons. This is part 1 of the lesson entitled, God is the ultimate. He's the ultimate everything. And I love this aspect of who God is. We all want to be on the winning side of things, and God's side is always the winning side. And I love that. Even if I fail, we win because He won. And even if I mess up, I still win because God cannot be shaken. His plans cannot be thwarted. And that's some pretty exciting stuff. And I've also had about 3 cups of coffee, so I'm really, really excited right now. And I'm excited to dive right into this with you. So the Bible contains quite a few names for God. And each one of these names reveals something important about God's character. And in week 1, we talked about God's name Adonai, which reveals that He's the master, the total authority. That's why we worship Him and Him alone. Because there's nothing better, there's nothing higher, there's nothing more capable. He created everything, and we exist to love and serve Him and Him alone. In week 2, we looked at the name that God gave Moses, I am. We talked about how that just encompasses everything. It invokes a feeling of dependability and stability that really defines God's character perfectly. And this week, we're going to be looking at the 6 names that all point to His supremacy and His attention to details of all of our lives. Actually, this week and next week. We're going to do 3 names this week and 3 names next week. So all of these names stem off of the name El. They're some of the most commonly used names for God in the Bible, second only to Yahweh, Jehovah, and all caps Lord. Maybe that seems like 3 different names, but actually it's not. They're all the same name. See, the Hebrews revered that name that God gave Moses, I am, so much that they couldn't even bear to write it. It was just too sacred. So when they had to write it, they wrote it without any vowels in it. So Yahweh, I am, Y-A-H-W-E-H, became just 4 letters, Y-H-W-H. And in the 16th century, a German translator tried to figure out what word those 4 letters stood for, and he incorrectly took the vowels from the name Adonai and put them between the 4 consonants to make the name which we pronounce Jehovah. And when the Bible was translated into English, those 4 letters, Y-H-W-H, was written out in our Bibles as capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. So when you see Yahweh, Jehovah, or all caps Lord, they're all saying the same name, the name that God gave Moses, I am. So second to that name, we have all of these El names. And the first one is El Elohei Yisrael. I do not speak Hebrew, so I'm pretty sure I probably just butchered that, but you know, give me a little bit of grace. I'm trying. Anyway, it means, just very simply, the God of Israel. And maybe that doesn't sound very exciting. Maybe that doesn't sound like something that, you know, you can base your faith on or it's going to impact your life. But it does have a clear-cut definition of the character of God, like some of the others that we're going to look at today. But it tells us that God is distinct from everything else. He isn't like the false gods. He can't be manipulated or pacified. He's not controlled by secret incantations. All of the other things that all the other cultures had for their way of worshiping their false gods, that doesn't apply to him. He isn't anything like those falsehoods, those imaginations. He's not like anything the world has to offer. As Christians, we're called to be different than the rest of the world because we don't serve the things the world serves. We serve a distinct God who's not like anything else. And so it is important to us, that name, it sets him apart from everything else. So moving on. And I'm just doing these in alphabetical order. There's no special significance to the order of these names. The second name is Elyon. Elyon means the God Most High. So not only is God not like anything else, he's above everything else. He's the Most High. There's nothing above him. Nothing controls God. Nothing defeats God. Now, there aren't too many references to the God Most High in the New Testament, but what there is reveals a lot. There's 2 incidences where this phrase is used by demons. And one is found in Acts chapter 16, spoken by a girl who's possessed by a fortune-telling spirit. And the other one is Mark chapter 5. This is where Jesus is confronted by a man who's possessed by a group of demons. And you may know this story is the story of the man who was possessed by so many demons, they referred to themselves as Legion. It's the one where the pigs run off the edge of the cliff. Anyway, verse 6 through 8 tells us, when he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Swear to God that you won't torture me." For Jesus had said, "Come out of this man, you evil spirit." God is the supreme ruler, and demons bow down in submission and quake at his authority. Now, if that doesn't get you dancing for joy, then there is something wrong with you. Consider the implications of the name Elyon, the Most High God. Are you being tormented by an evil spirit? Well, guess what? They quake at the name of the Most High God. Depression, anger, anxiety, addiction, depression, all of that bad stuff, all of those demons that plague us in this world, they are bound to obey the command of your God. And your God promises to hear the prayer of the people who love him. I'm telling you, if we want to be on the winning side of things, we need to be on the side of the supreme God Most High. I don't know about you, but the more I find out about who my God is, the more excited I get. But we're only going to be talking about one more L name of God this week. Next week we'll finish up with the last 3 names, but this week we're going to end with the name Elohim, which means the all-powerful one, the creator. Now, I have a number of books by Rose Publishing, and I love them. They have amazing biblical lists, charts, maps, definitions, all kinds of really super fun stuff. Cool pictures, and they're awesome books. They have everything you could ever possibly hope to know and find in here about facts from the Bible. And I love how it describes the application of this name Elohim. It says, God is the all-powerful creator of the universe. God knows all, creates all, and is everywhere at all times. I love this. God knows everything. He is everywhere. No matter what I'm going through, he knows what I'm going through, and he is right there. There's nothing that happens in my life that passes beyond, outside of God's supervision. He's everywhere, and he knows everything. Now tell me, what can you do with a God who's different than the mess that this world has to offer? He's the supreme ruler of everything, even the forces of evil trying to destroy us. He created everything. He knows everything, and he's wherever we are. I don't know about you, but I know I can place my trust in a God like that. I know I can serve that God because I like to be on the winning side of things. And I read the end of the book. He wins. I hope you guys have been blessed by this week's lesson. It was a totally exciting one for me this week, and I'm so glad I got to share it with you. If it blessed you, click the thumbs up button and be sure to subscribe so that you know when the next video is posted. Don't forget to go to Hebrews4ministries.com and print out those free worksheets that go with this series. Until next time, have a truly blessed day.